Let's talk about another man who, in my opinion, has also contributed to WWE's consistent decline in viewership and pro wrestling as a whole. I hope your attention span survives, but first, I thought it would be appropriate to allow one of the most respected in-ring workers in the wrestling business to give his honest opinion on Paul Levesque, aka Triple H.
Scott, hearing Bret Hart spit some straight facts, you know what I'm saying about Triple H is so refreshing, bruh. Now, I remember why I low-key respect this man so much. Hart Foundation till I die. Ain't no BS, bruh. Triple Triple H ain't all that, bruh. Yeah, he can wrestle better than Cena, but I'm tired of him walking out there taking deep breaths in between his sentences trying to sound intimidating.
I have a certain amount of respect for Triple H. When he first came in, I remember complimenting on stuff that he did. Because I usually give wrestlers my thoughts on what and try to help them and stuff. But I can remember when Paul first came in, I remember talking to him and said, "You really do a lot of really nice stuff out there." Triple H was always a good wrestler, but great. I don't know, what is he, 1,000-time world champion now, or how great really is he? I can look at certain wrestlers and I go, this guy is an innovator, like a Rey Mysterio can come up with, has done stuff that nobody ever thought of before. Punk has done stuff that really unique moves, and you go, geez, I've never seen anything like that before. And they do things they innovate all the time, and they create new sequences of moves and things. And then you look at someone like Triple H. When I look at him, he's always had a good look as far as his body went. He always had a pretty muscular physique. But you look at someone like Hunter and you go, what has he ever really done? Like, what is one move that he ever created that nobody ever saw before? Some high spots, or an idea for a match, or I got this idea, or I know what he ever brought to the table. He's mostly a guy that showed up and they've made him. He's always been a decent wrestler. I would consider him a pretty good wrestler and pretty talented, but great? I don't know. I don't think so. And if he's running the show, that goes back to my whole argument before. You got guys that are telling everyone what to do. What has he ever done? That's great. Like, he's never had a great match, I don't think, ever. Whenever I look at Triple H's matches, including the last one he had with Undertaker, and I don't really mean it as a knock, but I told myself before I watched it, because I'm trying to like Paul now these days, I go, I want to see him do something to make me think, yeah, he's got greatness in him. I remember watching it and going, I can picture the whole match in my head before I can tell exactly what this match is going to be like and how it's going to go. And I remember watching it, and it was exactly like I predicted. Like, it was exactly mostly brawling around on the floor and doing stuff that a lot of times that is pretty easy wrestling. That's just walking around and running somebody into the wall, and it's not complicated. It's not. There's no genius behind it. I thought it was mediocre at best, and maybe a 4 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. Okay. Whereas guys like Punk go out there and it's like, okay, impress me, and they do. And you watch it and you go, that's good stuff. That's stuff I never thought of before, and it's unique and it's fresh. But I think Paul's a little overrated. Right. He's overrated for being great, but I can't sit here and tell you that I can name one match that I ever thought he ever had with anybody that was great.
No, that's fair.
Good. A lot of good matches. And it's kind of a shame. He should have a great match somewhere with somebody. And you'd think he would have had it by now, but I don't think he's a great wrestler.
It's hilarious listening to Bret Hart just bury Triple H, but he does have a legitimate argument, in my opinion. What has the Hunter Hearst Helmsley character really done to capture the mainstream's attention? It seems like he never stood out on his own unless he was working with Stone Cold or The Rock. Old school fans know the name Jim Cornette. Jim stated on his podcast a number of years ago that Triple H was always the guy who worked with the real mainstream star.
Scott, a wrestler like Bret the Hitman Hart has earned.
the respect of his peers around the world for decades because of him being a masterful in-ring technician. People say, well, you have to respect John Cena's work ethic. No, actually, I don't have to. I don't know the man, nor do I know Triple H, who wasn't even a top guy in the business until the other top guys got hurt. Instead, most of his younger years were spent telling other men to suck it in that weird D-Generation X faction with Shawn Michaels. I ain't inviting no man to my dick. If another man told me to suck it, he would be sucking air after I kicked his ass. Old school fans will recognize this. I'm NWO black and white, for life.
Now, as for Triple H, my criticism often centers on him being an overrated top star. I happen to agree with Bret Hart's educated opinion. While he has had some success as a wrestler in his career, and is at least better than Cena in regards to athletic coordination and body control, his lengthy runs at the top were sometimes a result of his position within the company and his ability to influence creative decisions, rather than purely organic fan demand. He's also been accused of burying talent or prolonging his own championship reigns. Remember his 2003 Reign of Terror and his burial of Booker T at WrestleMania 19? Exactly. This can frustrate audiences who want to see fresh faces and new stars emerge.
Scott, I think Triple H's lust for power and influence really started in 2002 after legitimate mainstream draws like Stone Cold, The Rock, or Mick Foley were out of commission. He won the '02 Royal Rumble, took the undisputed WWF title from Jericho at WrestleMania 18, was handed the WCW heavyweight title, which, kayfabe or not, that was an insult to World Championship Wrestling, and he buried my man RVD. We wanted to see Rob Van Dam go over on Triple H and get the belt, but no, the fans would be denied. I still chuckle when RVD imitates Shawn Michaels' cross eyes. WWE kept trying to compare him to Ric Flair, which is a joke, and his absurd wins over Goldberg were hallmark backstage politics and egotistical booking.
Triple Ego would make you believe he reinvented the business with his high-knee lariat and the oh-so-devastating water spit. His entrance screams, "I'm great without the people calling me great." The colorful flashing lights, the spotlight on him, and the overly emotional facial expressions are all symptoms of an ego trip. Remember when Goldberg would make his entrance on an episode of Nitro? He didn't have to overcompensate for anything. He was genuinely over with the masses, and they knew he was about to destroy anyone in his way.
In professional wrestling, power isn't always won in the ring. Sometimes it's given by default backstage, through loyalty, timing, and influence. No modern wrestler embodies that shift more than Triple H. In 2003, he married Stephanie McMahon, and from that moment on, Triple H was no longer just talent. He was family. He was suddenly the priority for booking. That connection allowed him access to meetings, creative discussions, and long-term planning that most wrestlers never saw. By the late 2000s, WWE had a major problem. The main roster style was stagnant. New stars weren't connecting, and developmental territories were failing. Triple H saw an opening. If he couldn't change people's perception about his past, he would reshape the future. In 2012, Triple H took control of WWE's developmental system and rebranded it as NXT. Under his leadership, NXT produced stars like Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Finn Balor. I loved watching NXT from 2014 to 2019 because it appealed to us hardcore wrestling fans. For the first time in years, WWE felt fresh, and Triple H received the credit. NXT TakeOver events routinely outperformed main roster pay-per-views in critical reception. Triple H was booking that brand, and it was working, so I only assumed he would do the same once Vince stepped down.
Yo, everybody wanted Vince old ass out of here in Triple H booking, but it turned out to be a disaster. Bruh, WWE was stale as hell in 2025. Dude out here doing the same thing Vince did. He don't care about the mainstream. He just want all them business deals with all these streaming networks that are gonna edit all the old stuff anyway. They trying to book all these boring tag team matches. Ain't nobody watching that garbage, bruh.
Hell, I actually enjoyed watching NXT back then. I talked to my grandson and he said he was really into that Rhea Ripley gal, probably for other reasons. He is 13, but I liked how Triple H booked Samoa Joe in particular. He made him look like a badass who was always choking people out. Wrestlers down there were presented with a more manly persona. Except for that Velveteen Dream guy, that fella was kinda weird. Anyway, I got a call from my grandson a little while ago and he wants to go to a Rhea Ripley signing, so we're fixing to head over there. Scott, you can take it from here, buddy.
The cumulative effect of these valid opinionated criticisms is that Triple H and John Cena's prolonged dominance, coupled with these obvious flaws, contributed to a decline in WWE's overall viewership. The argument is that their predictable characters, their often simplistic promos, and their significant backstage influence may have alienated older fans or those seeking a more evolving product, leading them to simply tune out. I don't think it's necessary for me to elaborate on what Cena and Triple H did in 2025. At this point, you can form your own opinion on the two men, and that's perfectly fine. I hope you've enjoyed a different perspective on this interesting subject. I hope to make more videos like this soon. Happy New Year, and take care.